to this day. And, of course, we have a graphic, too, of our team, Board of Directors, Honorary Board of the Second Mile Foundation. Truly, truly heart-rending. One other note here before we go to break and come back with our first guest. We have a big investigative report right now up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com that is, we'll just hold right there until we get the thing up. Yeah, we're going to this now. I didn't see that in my... Okay, let's go back to full screen. Let's go back full screen this. Let's go. Okay. And finally, as we try to break open this nest of child-abusing roaches, we have the report that Sandusky's home, now that he's out on bail, thanks to his good friend, the judge releasing him, is backed up to the playground at an elementary school. Spiders like to build their webs near little bugs, little flies they like to eat. These little flies happen to be our children. We have a clip on that.
When he was charged with 40 counts of sexually abusing children, Jerry Sandusky was released on $100,000 bail. One condition, the former Penn State defensive coordinator was told not to go near children. But take a look where his house is located. This is the playground for Lamont Elementary School. Right over here is Jerry Sandusky's house, and from his back porch, he has a clear view of it.
We've got a video I played on the Sunday news show that we were going to play tonight. Maybe we'll play it tomorrow, where he's with 15-year-old kids playing football, and he's getting up behind them, grabbing on them, and it is really disgusting. And I tell you got to ask yourself in football why there's all that butt slapping and all that stuff. I mean, this is something else. And now they wanted to have all this sex education for even elementary kids. They want to put it in their minds. TSA is training our children to be groped. All this big TSA stuff broke through last November when Drudge Report linked to my report of Michelle in my office, where they tried to have a man search the diaper of her 1-year-old child at the time and her 7-year-old daughter. She said, no, get a woman to do it. Woman, man, whatever. I mean, this country has been taken over by a bunch of pedophiles, and they're conditioning us so they can prey on us. Pedophiles test kids by touching them. I'm telling you, folks, I've studied it. I never knew this was going on 17 years ago when I got on radio, but people kept exposing it, bringing the information to me. Skull and Bones, Bohemian Grove, all pedophilia-based. All these systems. I mean, we've allowed a very sick group of people to get in control. They want control of the government, so they have government power to get away with this. Don't you understand that? Every government gets taken over by tyrants and builds torture chambers and dungeons because the psychopaths want the power. Now, finally, before we go to break, geoengineering, our environment under attack, a huge, in-depth report that's up at Infowars.com. The greatest public health threat can no longer be denied. This is just a prelude to a big report we're doing tomorrow night where we prove there's massive geoengineering going on, releasing barium salts, aluminum dioxide, sulfur dioxide that is brain damaging and killing the population, and that it's actually all admitted to be going on. In plain view, it's just under different names than chemtrails. So we're going to be going over all of that coming up tomorrow night, documenting how long they've been doing it, why they're doing it, how widespread it is, indirect and semi-direct aerosol campaign. We're going to get into all of this. It's hidden in plain view. Coming up tomorrow with a special report. I just want to say great job to the crew getting all that news and graphics and information together tonight. We're going to come back and talk to Jason Burmis, and then we have another special guest who's going to be joining us as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back. It's Infowars Nightly News. If you believe in this information and want to support its viral spread, go to the Infowars store at Infowars.com. We've got the new G.I. Joe Infowars t-shirts. We've got the incredible Pro Pure gravity-fed filters available at Infowars.com in the store. We've got a new DVD, Scientists Under Attack, the Don't Tread on Me flag. We've got all sorts of different bumper stickers to help spread the rebellion virally. It's all there. Wristbands, citizen rule books in every order. Order online at Infowars.com today. The water filters, the canteens. It's all there. Infowars.com. We are back. It's Infowars Nightly News. I'm Alex Jones. Don't forget, through the month of November, we're offering a 15-day free trial at prisonplanet.tv. You can see all of my films, my book, Paul Watson's book, all the expanded extras from my 20-plus films, including Jason Bermas's documentary, Invisible Empire. It's all there at prisonplanet.tv. And your support, your subscriptions, funds this growing alternative media operation that is teleprompter free. And we are fighting for the future. We are fighting for the present. We are fighting for the hearts and minds of the people worldwide. The only way to defeat the globalist is by exposing the fact that they are completely out of control and do not have the general public's best interest in mind. We've got to expose that. We've got to educate the people that the New World Order is a tyrannical organization that must be defeated. Now, joining us from New York is investigative journalist and filmmaker, radio talk show host in his own right, Jason Bermas. And he has pointed out that if you go back to a month ago, to the sports writer that finally forced 18 years of cover-up out into the open, Mark Madden, that his investigative piece was titled Sandusky, a State Secret. And you know, going back a few weeks ago, I said this is probably like the Texas Youth Commission report, where the Texas Rangers got evidence, tried to stop it, but were blocked by the legislature, and discovered that all over the state of Texas, young babies being taken by CPS, but even more prevalent was young teenagers, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, in the juvenile justice system at facilities all over the state, were being pimped out to judges, police, and bigwigs. This is the elite's, I guess, forbidden enjoyment. Most of us vomit to even think about it, or begin to have violent feelings towards the pedophiles, because I have small children. Anybody touches my children, you're dead. Not going to have to wait for court. Dead. You understand? And it's that old-fashioned attitude that always had these vampires at bay. Now they're in there brainwashing the kids with sex education to test the youth, to see who they can target. They've got their pedophile training group, the TSA, now hitting the streets, pulling families over, groping babies' genitals, your wife's breast. This is all part of an indoctrination program. And with breaking news, Jason Bermas has done some in-depth research into this. Now it's starting to come out that it's rumors of donors coming in and raping the children. No, ladies and gentlemen, where there's one disgusting globalist cockroach, there's more. We've seen this in Europe. We've seen it at Bohemian Grove. We've seen it at Skull and Bones. This is what's going on time and time again. The elites are protecting their minions. Even when they get caught, they're getting very light sentences. Just like the judge let him out on a $100,000 bond that was not even secured. Unheard of. It should have been at least $1 million unsecured. You've now got the big Merc people coming in to try to protect Sandusky and the rest of them. This guy in front of witnesses was reportedly raping children for 18 years in the middle of the field house. This is a widespread phenomenon. We've got a prosecutor who's dead, came up missing over this, believed dead, who no-billed it. We've got all these other weird deaths, just like the Franklin cover-up. So here to break it down and parallel it to some cases in the UK is Jason Bermas. We're also going to work to get Mark Madden on. But this goes to the heart of how pedophiles and other forms of psychopathic control freaks, there's a whole legion of different types of these scum, get together and always want authority so they can carry out their crimes. And Sandusky had his house right behind the elementary school playground. The list goes on and on with these predators. They must be dealt with. You know, I showed a statistic last week. You're 5 times more likely in government custody as a child to be physically abused, 17 times more likely than any other group to be sexually abused. From my research, around half the CPS workers are hardcore pedophiles. These are dangerous people, folks, but they've got to be faced down. They take kids for no reason from parents. they fall down and break a finger or something, and give them to a group who is known to be the biggest abusers ever. You cannot argue with those numbers. Look them up for yourselves. Just Google CPS 5 times more likely to abuse children than any other group. You'll get the statistics from mainstream news, including Time Magazine, Newsweek. Okay, let's go to Jason Burmis now to have the floor and break down this tip of the iceberg Sandusky situation and why the system's so desperate to cover this up. Jason, good to have you here with us.
Thanks for having me, Alex. Let's roll it back to where you said the judge let him out on a $100,000 bond. She was heavily involved in the Second Mile Foundation, which this guy founded. Now, you bring it back to Mark Madden. Mark Madden actually broke this story back in April of this year, and nobody paid attention to it. In fact, he was laughed at, and he just kind of took it in stride. Now it breaks loose. He goes on a local talk radio show, a sports show, and talks about how this is the tip of the iceberg, and there are 2 prominent columnists working on the story of Sandusky and the Second Mile Foundation trafficking in children. And don't think it's not here, folks. In the UK, for instance, it broke that in July, they convicted a gentleman, 32 years old, Anthony Harrison, and he was trafficking in young girls within the United Kingdom. And he only gets 20 years. What's with these light sentences?
By the way, tell him what he was trafficking them for.
For voodoo rituals, which is extremely bizarre. And it kind of parallels a case there, which was the first case they ever found, they said, in the United Kingdom, of voodoo ritual sacrifice, where a young 5-year-old was flown in from West Africa. He was paralyzed. He wasn't given an anesthetic. He was paralyzed through a drug, repeatedly raped, and then dismembered as all of his blood was drained out of him. Who are these people? And why do they have any power whatsoever to cover up these acts? We have to take notice of that. By now, this story should have broke. So I hope and pray that there are good journalists out there really willing to risk their skin, because we've had journalists come up dead in the past. If you look at the Franklin scandal, for instance, a guy named Craig Spence, he started his career as a journalist in Vietnam, in Southeast Asia for NBC. He becomes a Republican lobbyist and entangled in this scandal. And he's found dead in his hotel room in 1989, just I think it was days after the story breaks on the front of major newspapers with the credit card receipts of prominent people on the cover and within the story. So this is very important, folks. This really, we have to get beyond this church of football and this worship of Joe Pa and Paterno. And believe me, being in upstate New York, I'm only about 70 miles from Scranton. And I've lived in Philadelphia, and this guy is like a god even up here. I mean, people can't believe it. But the bottom line is, if you witness somebody raping a young boy in a shower, how is it that you are elevated to assistant coach? And how is the coach able to maintain his job for well over a decade? Well, you and I know the answer. Everything is compartmentalized. People go along to get along. And the fact of the matter is, this is going to sprawl out into some very prominent people.
Well, look, he wouldn't be reportedly, although these witnesses, raping people right there in the middle of the field house, which is a very public place for anybody that's played football. If folks don't know, it's coming and going all hours of the day. I mean, this just shows this was mainline. This is somebody obsessed with children. Have you seen the videos of him with high school students when he's, where he's grabbing on them, and I mean, it looks like something out of, it's incredible. But Jason,
they set these foundations up, Alex, to prey on these young boys. I know you point this out again and again, but we have to be so aware of these supposed charitable organizations.
Remember Boys Town. Let's stop right there, because let's go back. You cover this. I cover it some in our Dark Secrets Inside Bohemian Grove. But to try to go over all the examples, it would take hours. But in Invisible Empire, by the way, that's on DVD at Infowars.com if folks want it, or if not, it's free on YouTube. The point is, get it out to everybody. You look at the psychology of the globalists and the crimes they're known for committing, the government drug dealing, the white slavery, the child kidnapping. We really look at their psychology in that film. So go back over that and the Jeff Gannon and the gay porn stars and all the things that are happening, all the things that are going on, Jason, because this is something that keeps happening over and over and over and over again. And even Richard Nixon talked about it.